Hey guys, alright, we're back again, doing another team review. Hold on while I grab some water, but really thirsty. Anyway, it's raining cats and dogs right now. It's like Sunday afternoon, about, what time is it? Almost 3, 10 minutes till 3. So, I figured we'd do another team, trying to slowly get through these. Average maybe one a day or so. Maybe I'll get through a couple today. We'll see how I feel about it. And post them later. I don't know. But again, continuing the team I like, team I don't. So this is a team I like. This might come as a surprise, but it really shouldn't. So this team review is on Ryan's team on I Dream of Your Touchdowns. So Ryan was the 12th pick in the first round. So towards the end of the turn. He was the only team to not take a running back in the first round. He actually didn't take a running back in the first 2 rounds, but the only team in the first round not to take a running back. So, with the 12th overall pick, he selected the consensus number 1 wide receiver, Michael Thomas. And so, Michael Thomas is a baller. Michael Thomas was the number 1 receiver last year, even as good a season that Chris Godwin had. Michael Thomas has been in the league since 2016, so he's slowly been getting better. The last 2 years, he's been a top 5 receiver. The last 3 years, he's been top 10, and counting his rookie year, he's been top 15 every year, so getting better. He used to compete with targets with Brandon Cooks when he came into the league, but that's why New Orleans traded away Cooks, and they kept Thomas. So, I mean, this is pretty simple. Thomas led the league in receptions. He had 149. He led the league in targets, 185. He had 1,725 yards, 9 touchdowns. So, I mean, the rub is maybe you don't want to take a receiver, but he was far and away the best receiver. Yeah, notice the decor. I'm in like a different room today, so I'm leaning over to get my phone, which is over here, and another computer. So if I'm looking away, that's why. But, I mean, Michael Thomas I would have considered at basically where? Like after Dalvin Cook, so Dalvin Cook went like 7th. So anywhere after that, I would have considered Michael Thomas. I think he's a first-round talent. Again, you want to get a running back, but Michael Thomas is the lone non-running back that I would want in the first round, and I certainly respect Ryan for taking Michael Thomas, who has been healthy. He's never missed a game. Consistent. He's the top receiving option on one of the best passing offenses in football and gets lots and lots of targets and receptions. So, I mean, I can't really argue with it. Again, I think everyone in the first round did a pretty reasonable job. There are some picks that are more boom or bust than others, but Thomas is super safe. He's probably the safest pick in the first round just because running backs have a higher rate of attrition than wide receivers, and again, Thomas has never missed a game. So, yeah, no, can't quabble with that. Second round, to the surprise of literally everyone, Ryan went double wide receiver and took Devontae Adams. To, again, put this in context, 24 running backs went in the first 2 rounds. Ryan took the only player not in the first round. The only player in the first round that was not a running back in Michael Thomas. And in the second round, the only other players that were not running backs that went were, I took Julio Jones at the very end of the round. Eileen took Odell Beckham Jr. And Ryan, again, doubling up on wide receiver. So, I usually preach that I like running backs. I know Robbie hoards running backs, and I will admit that I picked that up from him very early on. My first year in fantasy, I picked Randy Moss in the first round, and he was in Oakland, and that didn't go well. So I very much preach, believe, follow to the T. Hoarding running backs. I go for different running backs, certainly, than a lot of other teams. Again, I like rookies. I like upside. I like boom or bust. But I definitely follow the ideology of getting running backs. Ryan is my opposite. Ryan is like RB0 guy. So I will admit in a season where everyone, literally everyone in our league went running back, tried to go like running back early and running back heavy, there is an added benefit of zigging when everyone is zagging. I think Ryan would have been better off having a higher pick and being able to do this, to be honest, because like knowing that how far Tyreek Hill fell in the third round after this, it's not as great, but among the teams in our league that can make it work, I think Ryan is probably the only one, even more so than myself, just because he's run double tight end, he's won a championship, he can run multiple wide receivers. You zig when everyone zags, and I respect you for it. So Davante Adams was the pick. I trade for Davante Adams. He was 3 yards short of 1,000 last year. He got 5 touchdowns, but I mean, we're hoping that he's healthy. The only reason he's not a first-round pick, to be honest with you, is because he's missed a game in each of the last 3 years, at least one game, if not more. But he is the number one option in a Green Bay offense that, even though it's run-heavy, still has Aaron Rodgers. When he played last year, he was the number 2 scoring wide receiver in fantasy football. He ended the season, I want to say, around like 19th, just because of the injuries. He owns like a 30% target share in that offense. So like, all of that is to say, I mean, I could throw all the numbers at you, but basically all that means is he's number one option in a bit. He's the number one pass catching option. He's probably here for a bounce back season. He just has to stay healthy. He fell because he hasn't stayed healthy. But I'm willing to bet that he's going to have a better season than last, because when he plays, again, he's super consistent. Super, super duper consistent. So, and they didn't really get Aaron Rodgers much help anyway. So, yeah, no, I mean, I can't really, like, squabble with it too much. I mean, again, I like taking running backs. There are running backs on the board. But from a value standpoint, from getting the top 2 wide receivers on your board standpoint, like, I can understand it. I wouldn't do it, but that's because I'd have a difficult time making it work. I think you're probably the only team in the league that can possibly make this work. While I wouldn't do it, it doesn't mean I don't like it. I do like it. I know when we were drafting, you said I probably wouldn't like this, but when everyone is going one way, and you just go off on your own, I respect that. So I may not do it myself, but I can absolutely get on board with it because I see what you're doing. And so that leads us to the next round, which is basically now, I mean, I guess you could have gone triple wide receiver, or you could have taken a tight end. Kittle was the next pick, but you didn't do that. So you were just like, all right, it's time to go get a guy because I don't want to wait any longer, and that's fair. And you got Kareem Hunt. Now, Kareem Hunt missed half the year last year. He was suspended, rightly so. So once he came back, he was the pass-catching option in the Browns' offense, him and Nick Chubb. I mean, Kareem Hunt's a really talented player. He led the league in yards one year, his rookie year. So he's a better pass-catching back than Nick Chubb. When he played, he was on the field for like 60% of the snaps, and he averaged about 6 carries a game, and he averaged 6 receptions a game. So he was the number 17 running back down the stretch. The worry is him and Chubb kind of like cannibalize each other, because unlike even in a traditional committee where one guy's like the first and second down back, the other guy's the third down back, like this guy strictly, it's kind of like James White, Sonny Michel in like New England, only much, much more talented versions of that, because like either one of these guys, if the other guy got hurt, is a top 5 running back. The difference is Patrick got Nick Chubb in the first round, and you got Kareem Hunt in the third round. So I like the value quite a bit. I think Chubb's the more talented player and the goal line back, so he has higher upside, and that's why you take him in the first round. But it's not to say Kareem Hunt doesn't have talent. And again, I think people are kind of sleeping on him because with new coach Kevin Stefanski, he's the old offensive coordinator for the Vikings. I think they're going to go run heavy. And I think that leads in and of itself to Chubb and Hunt getting a lot of work. So I don't mind this being your lead running back, because if something were to happen to Chubb, like, Hunt's going to be a monster. Hunt could possibly be the number one running back in fantasy if Chubb were to get hurt in, like, week 1. So do I want him as my number one running back? No. But I will say the talent is absolutely there. We've seen it before. It's just a matter of opportunity. But I think he will get enough opportunity that he'll be worth taking in this round. So I don't mind it. That's probably the best you could do in the third round, honestly, considering you hadn't taken a running back, because the upside's just immense. Just immense upside. And even if he doesn't reach that, even if it's just the floor is still pretty good. The floor is like a top 20 running back. And I don't love that as my number one starter, but considering your wide receivers, you can make it work. So after that, you took a bit of a surprise. You took Lamar Jackson. Now, I love Lamar Jackson. I had him last year. I got him in the 9th round. He was the MVP. I mean, I can put all sorts of superlatives on him. He led the league in touchdown throws, so he threw 36 touchdowns. He only had 6 interceptions. He threw for over 3,000 yards. He rushed for over 1,000 yards, so most rushing yards by a quarterback ever. Only the second quarterback to run for over 1,000 yards after Michael Vick. Just an incredible talent. If he had played the last week of the season, he would have had the number one fantasy season of a quarterback ever. Instead, he's number 2 behind Patrick Mahomes the year before. So Mahomes is like a thrower, gunslinger, and Lamar Jackson's like Michael Vick. Just elusive, crazy fast, and just incredibly talented runner who has a little bit of a sniper arm. I wouldn't say he has a cannon. Mahomes has a cannon. But Lamar has a very, very sniper on. Intermediate routes, he's very accurate, especially over the middle of the field. I'd like to see him develop his deep game as well. Usually, again, I don't like reaches for quarterbacks, but like, we're drafting an MVP quarterback. A lot of people had, like, in fantasy, have a first round grade on him. I don't love this as much as Mahomes going in the 5th round to Hannah and Alex. I think that was probably like the best quarterback pick, honestly, in our draft. But I don't mind taking Lamar Jackson in the 4th round because I had him last year. He was the key to my team. I know I did not win a championship and I lost in the 1st round. He had his lowest scoring week in the 1st round because I relied so heavily on him. But I was the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. He was my team. He was a tremendous, tremendous player. He was averaging, like, I think on the season he had 400 points. So if we discount the last week of the season, because again, he didn't play the last week of the season, he was averaging like 25 points a game, 26 points a game. Like 25 points a game. So like crazy monster numbers, especially like that first week against the Dolphins, just gangbusters. So the question is, can he do it again? The answer is, I don't know. I don't think he's going to run for 1,200 yards. I also don't think he's going to lead the NFL in touchdown throws. So that's why I don't love, I don't love taking quarterbacks. It's hard to figure out who the breakout is, and I like taking breakout candidates later in the draft. But on the other hand, I think he's in a very good place. He's in Baltimore. He has a coach who really believes in him. He has an offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, who's built an offense around him. The same guy who took Colin Kaepernick to the Super Bowl, Greg Roman. So I would say, I don't expect a repeat of his past season. I think he's still going to be a fantasy monster as long as he stays healthy. That's really the rub. That's the biggest thing, because he's a runner, so he has a higher probability of getting hurt, and Mahomes got hurt last year, which is why I don't like taking quarterbacks high. But all of that being said, I don't mind it. I think this is good value for him. I think getting an MVP in the 4th round is exactly what I would do. I would have considered taking him if I thought I had a shot at him, and he fell later in that round, but he didn't. So I don't again, I don't love it because I don't love taking quarterbacks, but I think he was the best player on the board. So, again, I don't love it as much as the Mahomes pick, but I like it. I think it's a good pick. You're definitely going to need a running back now, but I can get on board with this. Again, you're zigging. You're taking, you start out double wide receiver. You take a quarterback in round 4. Usually those are things I just don't like. And personally, it's not something that I would like. But when everyone is zagging, everyone's going this one way, sometimes the value becomes too good to not go the other way. So I can definitely get on board with what you did. Surprise. So next round, round 5. Who did we end up taking, Ryan? Oh, we took Kerryon Johnson. Oh, okay. Now we're getting into, I don't know about that. So this is the rub with, not going running back heavy early. I don't like Kerryon Johnson. I mean, that's simple enough. I know he was a second-round pick last year or a first-round pick. I know he's been a first-round pick one of the last 2 years. He's had a lot of potential, but he gets hurt too often. And now they've spent another second-round pick, this time on DeAndre Swift out of Georgia to play for the Lions. I think Swift's more talented. I think Swift's a better pass catcher. I think Swift will stay healthy. So I don't really know what Kerryon Johnson's role is going into this year. I mean, he's really good when he plays. I think he's a fantasy starting running back when he plays. He might even be a fantasy top 10 running back when he plays, but he doesn't play enough. He missed 6 games last year? So, I mean, he's only 23, so he's really young. I think he's he's a flex kind of option. I can't squabble with it too much because, I have Adrian Peterson starting as my running back too, and Adrian Peterson's 35 going into the season. So, but all that being said, I don't love Kerryon. I think he's going to get 600 yards, 5 touchdowns, be a borderline top 30 running back, and I don't love that value. But I think this is more of a need pick. I will say, considering I took Adrian Peterson at the very top of the round, or it wasn't a whole lot to go on, I think the only rub with me is I would have taken James White over Kerryon just because White stays healthy. I don't think Kerryon is going to stay healthy, and that's really the issue. I don't think he's going to get enough work with DeAndre Swift. I know they're talking about a committee, but if Kerryon gets hurt in week 3 and then Swift carries the load for 3 or 4 games and then Kerryon comes back, do we actually think they're going to start splitting carries again? I don't. So, yeah, I don't. He's kind of in that James White, Adrian Peterson, Tevin Coleman range where I'm just this guy's probably better off as a flex. And even then, because he's a backup, he's a borderline flex. So that he's your number 2 running back's rough. But this is what happens when you go double wide receiver and you take a quarterback in round 4. So I do not love this pick. I'm not a fan of Kerryon. He just gets hurt too much. Yeah, you're going to need running backs. Talk to Patrick, because you knew that going in after the first 2 rounds, but this is going to be real rough. You might be the only team in the league where I'm just I think my top 2 running backs are better than yours, Ryan. And yeah, I don't mind Hunt, but Kerryon is I do not. I have a very difficult time trusting Kerryon after the last couple of years. So next round. So we have that. That was towards the end of round 5, so we're at the beginning of round 6. So we took Zach Ertz at tight end. So this is an interesting pick. Ertz had a good year last year. He ended up being hurt. I'm still not really sure what to make of the Philadelphia offense because 3 years ago with Foles they're great. 2 years ago they're pretty good. Last year was a mess, but Ertz got a lot of play. But at the same time, their top 3 receivers were all hurt. Deshaun Jackson missed most of the season. Alshon Jeffrey missed most of the season. Arcegio Whiteside, their second-round pick, either played and was terrible or missed part of the season. So their starting wide receiver was like Greg Ward, who's a former quarterback out of Houston. Anyway, I like Ertz. I think Ertz is good. The reason why he fell this far, though, I believe, is because, like, A, all those guys, I mean, while I expect the Eagles' offense to be better, they're not going to give so much target share to Ertz this year because, like, some wide receiver somewhere has to be healthy. Like, they drafted Jalen Reagor, and even with Alshon still missing because he's hurt, and even with they trade for Marquise Godwin, and even with him opting out because of COVID, like, Jackson's healthy. They drafted Reagor. Greg Ward's still there. Like, someone has to stay healthy this year. There's just no way Ertz is going to be able to keep up that kind of target share. And then on top of that, they still have Dallas Goedert, who was the backup tight end who they drafted a few years ago after they lost Trey Burton after winning the Super Bowl. And so I think Ertz is going to start. This is going to be starting the decline phase of Ertz's tight end ship. So I think he's a borderline top 5 tight end. Again, I don't think he's bad. I think he's good. I think he's talented. I think him and Kittle have consistently been the top 2 tight ends for a long time. But I think this is the point where it starts to decline on him because, like, he needs Carson Wentz to be healthy. He needs the offensive line to be healthy, and 2 guys have already gotten injured. He needs the wide receivers to open things up and stay healthy. And, like, there's a lot of things where I'm not sure what to make the Philadelphia offense. I think it's starting to change. I think we saw that towards the end of last year where they were just, like, giving up on throwing the ball, even with Ertz being the only one healthy, and just giving the ball to Miles Sanders. And I think that's where they're starting to go a little bit, kind of like the Chiefs go a little when they had Alex Smith using Kareem Hunt. A little less from the tight ends, a little more from the running the ball. I think Ertz is still as talented as Travis Kelce and George Kittle, but I don't think it's the top 3 anymore. I think Ertz has been passed by, like, Mark Andrews and possibly Darren Waller. So I like Ertz. He hasn't finished lower than 5th in targets, 6th in receptions since 2014, but he's got to stay healthy. And while he's a top target of Wentz, he needs Wentz to stay healthy. So I don't mind it, but I think this is more of we're picking the guy at his peak. This is what Ertz is. It's round 6, so I can get behind it, but usually I don't like taking tight ends in the middle, but I think he was probably a very talented player on the board. There are some wide receivers I take over him, but that's the thing of going wide receiver heavy. We don't need to be taking another wide receiver, so I can understand taking Ertz. After that, we took Darrell Henderson Jr. I like that pick. So Henderson Jr. didn't look great last year. He only had 39 carries behind Todd Gurley. The Rams didn't use him enough as they probably should. Cam Akers was drafted in the 2nd round. He's probably going to take over that job. But that isn't to say that Cam Akers is suddenly Todd Gurley. I think there's a lot of work in that backfield. Like, they still have Malcolm Brown, and so Darrell Henderson's now ahead of Malcolm Brown too. So Henderson looked great coming out of college, out of Memphis. He is a really good pass catcher, whereas Akers is more of a straight line, one cut running back. I think that the hope is that Akers is the goal line back and Henderson is the pass catching back. So it's kind of like Cleveland with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, just not as talented. So more like, I guess, New England with like James White and Sonny Michel. But he is a breakout candidate of mine. I think very highly of Darrell Henderson. I think last year with his injuries wasn't great for him. But I saw all of the rookie running backs, other rookie running backs break out. Devin Singletary and Miles Sanders. And we saw David Montgomery. I think this might be the year of Damian Harris and Darrell Henderson from last year's running back class, where they're just like, they get their opportunity. This might be the time. So I like the upside play. It's round 7. You need running backs. You're not going to take another wide receiver right now. So I like that. I think that's a good pick. He might be your starting second running back when all things are said about Kerryon. After that, We took Matt Breida, so taking another running back, 8th round. I talked about this on Brian's draft. I'm high on Breida. Why am I high on Breida? Breida has always been kind of a forgotten man in San Francisco because he gets hurt, but Breida is one of the fastest players in the NFL. He just oozes speed. So he has gotten at least 100 carries in the last 3 years, and he's ranked no worse than 13th in the NFL in yards per carry. He usually gets 5 yards per carry. He's just super duper fast. And while I mentioned on Brian's video, I think Jordan Howard is the goal line back, and Jordan Howard has been pretty consistent. Last year was the first year he ever got hurt. I think kind of like Miles Sanders breaking out towards the end of the season, Matt Breida could do the same kind of thing if something happens with Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard isn't terribly exciting. Matt Breida, despite not being a rookie, I usually like my rookie running backs, but this is all about opportunity. He's been in Shanahan's offense for a while. He's been competing for carries. He's been super consistent. He's on the last year of his contract. This is his opportunity. This is his chance to make big money. So I think Breida's going to be motivated. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be good. And I think this is his opportunity. This is his chance. He's already going to be the pass-catching back, and I think that's really good in a Chan Gailey, Ryan Fitzpatrick, possibly Tua Tagovailoa offense at quarterback. He could be having like the Isaiah Crowell, Bilal Powell, like Jets running back, only much more talented. So the hope is that the Dolphins are better. I think they will be. I think their offensive line is okay. But, I mean, this is Breida's chance. And so to roll the dice around 8, we need running backs. Let's go upside. Let's go someone who could possibly be a breakout top 10 running back when all's said at the end of the year. That's Breida's upside. I love that. That's why I'm so on Breida, because he's going so late that you might as well roll the dice. So after that, we go to round 9. We take Tariq Cohen. I don't love Tariq Cohen. He's with David Montgomery. He's the pass-catching back. He's kind of small. He's only like 5'6". He's a short little dude. He was a top 25 running back 2 years ago when he caught enough passes. I don't know if he's going to catch enough passes. He's kind of like Nyheim Hines, who went, I think, a couple rounds later. He just, there's not a lot of upside with him. You're getting what you get. Even if something were to happen to Montgomery, I still don't think Cohen would be the guy. So I don't love that. I mean, he's a flex play possibly, but I don't know. I don't want to fill the hole at running back with that. But again, we're going heavy running backs. I guess we need to. We took Danielle Hunter after that, so good defensive end for Minnesota. We followed that up with Robbie Anderson. So Robbie Anderson, the speedster, the former top 15 wide receiver 3 years ago now, is in a new place in Carolina. I think Carolina's defense is terrible. I hope Brian watches this video, because this is kind of my point. Brian took DJ Moore in round 4, and we're getting Robbie Anderson in round 11. And the difference between the two, I can't really say is very much. Robbie Anderson almost has the exact same game as DJ Moore. And while I think DJ Moore is the more talented, younger player, they paid Robbie Anderson. He's been paid. They gave him money. And he is familiar with the head coach. He is familiar with the quarterback. I don't know if Robbie Anderson's going to be the number 1 receiver. I still think it's DJ Moore. I know Curtis Samuel, they're trying to be the number 2 receiver. But I also know that Robbie Anderson is a vertical threat, and he can absolutely fly. And he is more of a red zone threat than either of those guys. So unlike DJ Moore, where we're drafting him as his peak, unlike Curtis Samuel, which we haven't really seen the breakout, we've seen the breakout with Robbie Anderson. We're getting him at a super low price in round 11, and he has the opportunity and the talent to possibly ascend. I love all of those things. That's a great pick. It's a great pick. Because, again, I don't know if Robbie Anderson's going to be the guy, but neither do you. But there's the possibility and the opportunity for him to be. So I would like to see what Carolina's offense looks like. I'd like to see how they use Robbie Anderson, but I'm very high on him. This is only his 5th year in the NFL, and he has already been a top 15 receiver once upon a time on a championship team in our league. So I'm interested to see if he can keep this up. I'm interested to see what he looks like and how they use him. But he's pretty healthy. He's fast. Man, to get that in round 11, that's a steal. That shows just how good you are at locating wide receivers, man. So we took Tremaine Edwards, a linebacker out of Buffalo, in round 12. I like Tremaine Edwards. I had him last year. Man, the Lightning is scary. After that, we took Jamal Adams, who's been traded to Seattle, in round 13, so I like that. Took Todd Davis, the linebacker out of Denver. He's all right. We went to TJ Hawkinson as a backup tight end in Detroit. Still trying to figure out what the Detroit offense looks like. I know they used a first-round pick on him. I know people are high on Noah Fant in Denver. Hawkinson is also a former Iowa tight end who was taken the first round last year. I don't know. Detroit tight ends, they take them high, and I never like them. So I hope that he's healthy. I hope that he plays. I think this is just a roll of the dice. Maybe he gets like 600 yards and like a few touchdowns, but he's probably like not a top 10 tight end. But he's got talent. I'll give him that. I just hate that Detroit's like so run heavy. So I'm interested to see if you're either Carry-On or Hawkinson turn into anything. Took safety Harrison Smith, got paid by Minnesota. Matt Gay, who's probably going to not be the kicker for the Bucs, so be on the lookout for that. He's probably going to get cut. And then we took Chris Herndon. So we took another tight end, this time the Jets tight end. I had him last year. He didn't play. 2 years ago, he had a lot of rapport with Darnold. I don't know what it'll look like in that Adam Gase offense, though, since he's never played in it. And but he was the number 9 fantasy tight end from week 6 on 2 years ago. So for a post-hype target, especially because I had him for quite a bit of last year, waiting for him to come back, and me still not loving any of the pass catchers on the Jets, like they signed Rashad Perryman to be their number 1 receiver, like, huh? So yeah, I don't mind that late round pick, kind of like with Brian, with Darren Waller, but I don't think Herndon will be as good because I really, really don't trust Adam Gase or the Jets at all. I think they're terrible. But as a last pick, you're trying to find a breakout tight end, so we've taken Hawkinson, who I like his talent, and we've taken Herndon, who has a lot of opportunity. I wish we could combine the two, but I don't mind either of them, especially when we combine the fact that you already took Ertz, who's probably going to be your starter. So we're probably fine to find trade fonder, but yeah, I don't mind that. I typically, myself, subscribe to having 3 tight ends going into week 1 and hoping one of them hits. So I totally am behind this. Opportunity, talent, and then Ertz is the combination of both, which is why I had to draft him much higher. I get it. So why did I do yours, and why do I like your draft? I mean, it's pretty simple, Ryan. I think you know what you're doing. I think your season finishes show that you know what you're doing. I think you're still, if not the best fantasy player in our league, you're one of the best. You may not be the best, but you're one of the best. You have a championship, and you're consistently very good. I mean, I think you had some down years, but you're always competing for titles. So, in a year when everyone is going run heavy, in a year of COVID, leave it to Ryan to go wide receiver heavy. But leave it to Ryan to kind of stack his tight ends. Leave it to Ryan to kind of roll the dice on some high upside running backs. I like all of these things. If you're going to go RB0, this is how you do it. So I think this will work. I think you'll make the playoffs. I think you know what you're doing. I think you're very good at it. I don't love your draft as much as like Patrick's or like Hannah and Alex's, but I think it's a very good draft. You just got to kind of figure out that second running back slot. But the thing is, I know you will. You always do. So I don't need to give you any advice. You'll figure it out. You'll be there at the end. Someone's going to have to run through you just to get a shot at a championship. If not, they're going to lose. Yeah, I don't, again, would I do this? Probably not. Is this difficult? Yes, it is. Can you make it work? Absolutely. So yeah, I like your draft. I believe you. I believe both in your history, in your intelligence, and your ability to adapt. So probably more so than a lot of the teams in this league. So I have no concerns for you. The only, again, advice I have is find a second running back. That's the only reason why you're not as high. But I give you a B, solid B. Probably put you at my number 5 team. I think I got Hannah and Alex's 4, so you're probably like number 5. But yeah, you're very, very good at this. Even when you're stacking wide receivers and there's no running backs, you're still kind of figuring it out. Like getting Henderson, Breida, Cohen, Carry-On. You only need one of them. Only one of the 4 to be good. I don't know who it could be, but the chances of one of them being good, pretty high. So if you combine that with Hunt, boom, you got a playoff team. Easy. You might even compete for a championship. So yeah, very well done, Ryan. I like it.